Ashkenazi Hebrew is the pronunciation system for biblical and missionary Hebrew favored for liturgical use by Ashkenazi Jewish practice. It survives today as a separate religious dialect within some parts of the Haredi community, even alongside modern Hebrew in Israel, although its use amongst non-Israeli Ashkenazi Jews has greatly diminished. Features: as it is used parallel with modern Hebrew, its phonological differences are clearly recognized. Aleph and Ayin are completely silent at all times in most forms of Ashkenazi Hebrew, where they are frequently both pronounced as a glottal stop in modern Hebrew, or Yisrael versus Yisrael. A special case is Dutch Hebrew, where Ayin is traditionally pronounced as a velar nasal, probably under the influence of the local Spanish and Portuguese Jews. Tor is pronounced s in Ashkenazi Hebrew, unless there is a dagesh in the, where it would be pronounced t. It is always pronounced t in modern Hebrew. Seir e is pronounced ej in Ashkenazi Hebrew, where it would be pronounced e in Sephardi Hebrew. Modern Hebrew varies between the two pronunciations, or aman versus amen. Quoms Gadol, a, is pronounced in Ashkenazi Hebrew, where it is a in modern Hebrew, or David versus David Daved. Holem, o, is, depending on the subdialect, pronounced o, ow, oi, or a in Ashkenazi Hebrew, where it is o in modern Hebrew. Unstressed kubus or shuruk, u, occasionally becomes I in Ashkenazi Hebrew, when in all other forms they are pronounced u. In the Hungarian and Oberlander dialects, the pronunciation is invariably y. There is some confusion between final zera e and hirik I. In earlier centuries, the stress in Ashkenazi Hebrew usually fell on the penultimate, instead of the last syllable as in most other dialects. In the 17th and 18th centuries there was a campaign by Ashkenazi rabbis such as Jacob Emden and the Vilna Gaon to encourage final stress in accordance with the stress marks printed in the Bible. This was successful as concerned liturgical use such as reading from the Torah. However, the older stress pattern persists in the pronunciation of Hebrew words in Yiddish and in early modern poetry by Chaim Nahman Bialik and Shaul Chernyshkovsky. Variants: there are considerable differences between the Lithuanian, Polish, Hungarian, and German pronunciations. These are most obvious in the treatment of Holem. The German pronunciation is o, the Galician, Polish pronunciation is oi, the Hungarian is oi, and the Lithuanian pronunciation is a. Other variants exist. For example, in the United Kingdom, the original tradition was to use the German pronunciation, but over the years the sound of Holem has tended to merge with the local pronunciation of long o, as in toe, and some communities have abandoned Ashkenazi Hebrew altogether in favor of the Israeli Sephardi pronunciation. Another feature that distinguishes the Lithuanian pronunciation, traditionally used in an area encompassing modern-day Baltic states, Belarus and parts of Ukraine and Russia, is its merger of sin and shin, both of which are pronounced as s. This is similar to the pronunciation of the Ephraimites recorded in Judges chapter 12, which is the source of the term Shibboleth. History: there have been several theories on the origins of the different Hebrew reading traditions. The basic cleavage is between those who believe that the differences arose in medieval Europe and those who believe that they reflect older differences between the pronunciations of Hebrew and Aramaic current in different parts of the Fertile Crescent, that is to say Judea, Galilee, Syria, northern Mesopotamia and Babylonia proper. Within the first group of theories, Zimmels believed that the Ashkenazi pronunciation arose in late medieval Europe and that the pronunciation prevailing in France and Germany in the time of the Josephus was similar to the Sephardic. His evidence for this was the fact that Asher ben Jehiel, a German who became chief rabbi of Toledo, never refers to any difference of pronunciation, though he is normally very sensitive to differences between the two communities. The difficulty with the second group of theories is that we do not know for certain what the pronunciations of these countries actually were and how far they differed. Since the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492, if not before, the Sephardic pronunciation of the vowels became standard in all these countries, ironing out any differences that previously existed. This makes it harder to adjudicate between the different theories on the relationship between today's pronunciation systems and those of ancient times. Leopold Zunes believed that the Ashkenazi pronunciation was derived from that of Palestine in Geonic times, while the Sephardi pronunciation was derived from that of Babylonia. This theory was supported by the fact that, in some respects, Ashkenazi Hebrew resembles the Western dialect of Syriac, while Sephardi Hebrew resembles the Eastern, e.g., Eastern Syriac Peshitta as against Western Syriac Peshito. Ashkenazi Hebrew in its written form also resembles Palestinian Hebrew in its tendency to male spellings. Others, including Abraham Zevi Idelson, believe that the distinction is more ancient, and represents the distinction between the Judean and Galilean dialects of Hebrew in Mishnah times, with the Sephardi pronunciation being derived from Judean and the Ashkenazi from Galilean. This theory is supported by the fact that Ashkenazi Hebrew, like Samaritan Hebrew, has lost the distinct sounds of many of the guttural letters. While there are references in the Talmud to this as a feature of Galilean speech, Idelson ascribes the Ashkenazi pronunciation of Kamatz Gadol as O to the influence of Phoenician, see Canaanite shift. In the time of the Masortes there were three distinct notations for denoting vowels and other details of pronunciation in biblical and liturgical texts. In certain respects the Ashkenazi pronunciation provides a better fit to the Tiberians' notation than do the other reading traditions. For example, it distinguishes between Pater and Kamas Gadol, and between Segol and Seer, and does not make the Kamas symbol do duty for two different sounds. A distinctive variant of the Tiberians' notation was in fact used by Ashkenazim, before being superseded by the standard version. On the other hand, it is unlikely that in the Tiberians' system Seer and Olim were diphthongs as they are in Ashkenazi Hebrew. They are more likely to have been closed vowels. For more details of the reconstructed pronunciation underlying the Tiberians' notation, see Tiberians' vocalization. In other respects, Ashkenazi Hebrew resembles Yemenite Hebrew, which appears to be related to the Babylonian notation. These features are not found in the Hebrew pronunciation of today's Iraqi Jews, which as explained has been overlaid by Sephardi Hebrew, but are found in some of the Judeo-Aramaic languages of northern Iraq and in the Syriac language. Another possibility is that these features were found within an isogloss that included Syria, northern Palestine and northern Mesopotamia, but not Judea or Babylonia proper, and did not coincide exactly with the use of any one notation. The Yemenite pronunciation would, on this hypothesis, be derived from that of northern Mesopotamia and the Ashkenazi pronunciation from that of northern Palestine. The Sephardic pronunciation appears to be derived from that of Judea, as evidenced by its fit to the Palestinian notation. According to the Maharal of Prague and many other scholars, including Rabbi Yaakov Emden, one of the leading Hebrew grammarians of all time, Ashkenazi Hebrew is the most accurate pronunciation of Hebrew preserved. The reason given is that it preserves distinctions, such as between Pater and Kamas, which are not reflected in the Sephardic and other dialects. Only in the Ashkenazi pronunciation are all seven distinguished. Yemenite, which comes close, does not distinguish Pater from Segol. On the other hand, this view does not appear to be supported by any non-Ashkenazi scholars. Some scholars argue in favor of the greater authenticity of the Yemenite pronunciation on the ground that it is the only Hebrew pronunciation to distinguish all the consonants. Influence on modern Hebrew. Although modern Hebrew was intended to be based on Mishnah spelling and Sephardi Hebrew pronunciation, the language as spoken in Israel has adapted to Ashkenazi Hebrew phonology in the following respects: the elimination of pharyngeal articulation in the letters eth and ayin, the conversion of resh from an alveolar flap to a voiced uvular fricative or trill, the pronunciation of zera as e in some contexts, the elimination of vocal shiva, some of the letter names in popular speech, penultimate stress in proper names. Similarly, penultimate stress in nouns or verbs with a second or third person plural suffix. Literature. Ilan Eldar, Maseret HaKirya HaKedem Ashkenazit, Edar V. Lashon Series Vols. 4 and 5, Jerusalem. AZ. Idelson, Dargegen Wartager Ausbreak des Hebräischen bei Juden und Samaritanen, in Monatschrift für Geschichte und Wissenschaft des Judentums 57, 1913. 527 to 645 and 698 to 721. Dovid Katz, The Phonology of Ashkenazic, in Louis Glenert, Hebrew in Ashkenaz, A Language in Exile, Oxford, New York, 1993. 46 to 87. ISBN 0-19-506222-1. S. Morag, Pronunciations of Hebrew, Encyclopedia Judaica 13. 1120 to 1145. Science Badillos, Angel, A History of the Hebrew Language. Trans. John L. Wald, Cambridge, England. Cambridge University Press. ISBN 0-521-55634-1. Werner Weinberg, Lexikon zum Religiosen Wortschatz und Brauchtum der deutschen Juden, ed. by Walter Roll, Stuttgart Bad Cannstatt 1994. ISBN 3-7728-1621-5. Zimmels, Ashkenazim and Sephardim, Their Relations, Differences, and Problems as Reflected in the Rabbinical Responsa. London 1958. ISBN 0-88125-491-6.